Alright, this is my third time recording this, and I have so much to say, so let's just get this over with. UFC 4, it's released 2 years after UFC 3, and good lord, why did it get released? It's no surprise EA comes under a lot of fire for not delivering the most changes from year to year in their sports franchises, but this is honestly shocking. We're going to break this down to several bits here, and we want to go through them in a decent amount of time, so let's go full tilt. From UFC 3 to UFC 4, gone are the blocky block menu posts, and in return we get a more traditional main menu. For both offline and online purposes, you're prompted to have an avatar that'll show up here, complete with a player card and unlockable accolades and quotes to put beside him. There are challenges too across all modes that reward you with XP or coins or both. Coins can be used to buy quotes, player card pictures, etc. for your character. XP levels you up, which can also unlock these things. There are several returning modes such as the regular Fight Now mode, KO mode, tournament, and event modes. New is the stand and bang mode, which is essentially Fight Now mixed with KO mode. Just no ground game essentially. There's also Custom Fight, which lets you edit the bejesus out of all the fight settings. But you can accidentally override global fight settings by doing this, so be careful. Don't accidentally put on the wrong controls. You can have several neat venues like Kumite, Backyard, and Underpass, Dana White's Contender Series, and all the usual arenas. You can combine weight classes or even do open weight, which is awesome. You can put Demetrius Johnson up against Bruce Buffer. Nice. Navigating around menus kinda stinks though. Input is kinda buffered, so you can accidentally overshoot menu options while holding the D-pad, and sometimes the menus don't scroll up, which is a pain. Plus, some menu things have you press weird buttons that aren't cohesive to the overall movement at all. Plus, no holding the D-pad for creative fighter stuff. I have carpal tunnel trying to edit the tip protrusion of my character's nose. Thanks, EA. Career kinda stinks. It's presented cinematically with Coach Davis, a former fake UFC star turned coach, who brings you under his wing after you absolutely blow your match against someone in the middle of town. You do some tutorials, which are slow as piss, and then impress Dana White, who has nothing better to do that night. You immediately go into the Contender Series and either fail and go to the WFA, or succeed and go straight to the UFC. From there, there's no more cutscenes really. Just silentish Instagram stories and loading screens. Career is also a bloody grind. Leveling up moves by doing them in training or matches takes forever. And I don't think in my entire GOAT career I have one level 5 move. You can use evolution points earned from training towards athletic skills like footwork, punch speed, etc. It can be damaged by getting injured by your psychopathic training partners too. You get X number of weeks to train. You train, you hype up your fights, you barely use the social media feature to have rivals. You build relationships with other fighters to learn their moves or study up on your opponent. You only have so many moves per week, so you can keep track of that and figure out a strategy to maximize your fitness or your hype. Or don't. I mean, there's really only one formula. Training is fucking boring and frustrating most of the time. You work towards GOAT status, which is kind of like UFC records and retirement accolades. You win and get Bruce Lee and the pre-order dudes. Fight until your heart gives out after that. Or your patience runs out, whichever one comes first. The career mode is a scam after the intro, honestly. It's completely devoid of fun or interesting cutscenes after the intro, and the subtitles don't even work partway into the game, which is a weird quality of life thing that I found. The gameplay itself is kinda suspect. It's UFC 3, but with some tweaks to make sure that clinches are 2 seconds long. The ground game is inescapable even if you have 5-star ground game and the advantage, and the only viable move in higher difficulties or online is the jab straight combination, unless your opponent is brain dead. Customizing characters kinda stinks, as yes, you can put them in all weight classes now, but making them in the first place takes forever and you can't even retain any of the moves you built up in career mode. Movesets online and in any other game mode have been reduced to archetypes that you can choose from at the beginning of fights. You can customize everything about your character, including awkward pre- and post-fight taunts that don't hook up properly to the presentation in a nice way, but don't even think about that moveset. It's lost to the ether of career mode garbage. Even in-game, the commentators aren't the most exciting, as it isn't Joe Rogan or Mike Goldberg, so everything from the gameplay to the presentation feels like a large step down from UFC 3, and so I don't recommend this game whatsoever. Even moving from UFC 2 to UFC 4, I want my money back, quite frankly. I hope this wasn't too long, and I hope it's informative. Thank you for watching. That's the bulk of the video, but here's some interesting little quality of life things that I found that I ranted about in previous takes. You can customize your character to the T, but for online modes, most people just pick basic UFC fighters anyways and don't use their own characters. So it kind of defeats the purpose of character customization for the sake of other people and showing it off. Career mode is a useless and underwhelming grind and almost a scam for how much they pumped up the coach and the cutscenes and the blank social media feature. Navigating menus is a mess with placement, and controls suck, and the accompanying boring music doesn't help the experience. Training is frustrating as your opponents are sociopaths, and leveling up moves is uber slow and doesn't help for your character as your moves are restricted to career mode. The ground game is broken to a point where any slightly aggressive CPU can hold you down despite you having grapple advantage and better stats. The new clinch system is awkward and gives you so much advantage as the attacker it hurts. Blocking is horrible, and head movement won't help you from getting knocked into the third row by your third grade bully. Seriously, strikes are super overpowered. I never finished a single match outside of the first round, either because I KO'd the other guy or the other guy KO'd me and I restarted the match. The new submission system is basic and heavily relies on the attacker not being brain dead. You either escape really well or you get absolutely decimated. It's never close. The presentation is all smashed together and feels really awkward. The ringside commentators are kind of a bland step down from Joe Rogan and Mike Goldberg, and honestly, most of the time I can barely hear them. Subtitles can only be turned on for the main screen, not in-game or anything, and they straight up don't work as of launch in any cutscene outside of the first one. Most of the strikes get cancelled by jabs and straights. Most online fights are a struggle to see who can get as many jab straight combos before the other person. Any other strike is pretty blockable too. You can see a kick coming from a mile away, but that jab straight, you will never stop them. The takedown defense is broken. Unless you're blocking low at the beginning, which most often you're not because you need to protect your really weak head and blocking up there, you will get taken down no matter how proper you're controlling the left stick, as it tells you to do in the event that you need to defend yourself from a takedown. The game almost never mentions how to do the new slams or anything too, unless you go through a ton of menus. The whole character select screen kind of stinks, and I'd rather it just be the classic two sides with the weight in the middle in previous UFC and Fight Night games. In the end, don't spend $80 on this game. It's UFC 3, but somehow feels worse and is unbalanced in gameplay and leveling and currency and frankly everything. Unless you find fun in the most boring of all boring grinds and hate yourself and have the patience of a saint, don't play this. Play UFC 3 on EA Access for like $5, or go play literally anything else. Get your fighting fix from actual fighting games. Or Fight Night. Fight Night's awesome. There's probably more I could have mentioned because there's so many little nuances, but this video is already long enough, and this is an already extended bit. So thank you for watching, and I hope to make less ranty and complainy videos in the future. Bye.